Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Casual Aquatics. It's been quite some time since I've been live. It's well overdue. I hope you guys are excited and ready to meet Evan, learn about him and his fish room. He has a lot of amazing tanks. I was quite shocked when I got a hold of him through the Band app. If you don't know what that is, look it up. We have Casual Aquatics on the Band app as well. And that's how I met Evan. So, I don't know who's all in here yet. I'm going to give it a little bit, and we're going to jump right into it.
Sounds good.
We got one viewer so far. Hello, hello, and welcome.
Is that one viewer you or me?
I don't believe so.
Yeah. How about we just talk some fish stuff while people come in, and then we can get going. What do you think about that?
Hey, that works, man.
Yeah.
I'll mention I have a new fish on the way that I'm excited about. I am dropping $120 on it.
What you getting?
I've tried my luck at fire eels, man. I bought a lot of them, like 5 or 6, and for some reason they died on me, or I wasn't doing something right, or whatever. So until I can probably buy one almost grown like Samson, I'm probably just gonna like veer off of fire eels. But the eel I'm getting is a true freshwater eel, and it is called it's a tiger eel. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they are a beautiful fish. You definitely should look them up.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna check those out. There's so many great eels out there. The spiny eel group has several really interesting fish in it. And I say fish because technically they're not eels because they got fins, but they're pretty much eels, right? But there's so many great options. There's even a freshwater moray eel that is relatively new to the hobby, pretty new, and people are even still learning how to take care of it properly, to be honest. But
that might be it, man. Have you heard? I think it might be called a tiger moray. They're beautiful, dude. I'm not super coloration.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with it just because it is so new, and I have not kept one. But there's so many great eels out there. I'm an eel enthusiast, even though I only have one, just because that's all I can house. I think properly, right?
Right.
But if I could have more, I would.
Exactly.
You're gonna have to do several videos on that thing, man.
Most definitely.
Where are you getting it from? If you don't mind me.
This dude, his name is Jay for Flower Horns. I don't know. He's on the Band app. I don't know if you're.
I've seen J4 Flower Horns, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly who I'm getting it from. So definitely excited about that.
Yeah. I mean, you should be.
Well, does it show you how many people are in here? Like, I see it up here at the top. We keep going 1 or 2 at the moment.
Cool. Yeah, a couple people, couple friends to hang out with, right? I know.
Right.
I don't see how many people are in right now. All I can see is a couple ugly mugs.
Right. All right, man. Well, how about we just go ahead and start diving in and hope for the best?
Yeah, sure.
We'll start with the first question and then just go down the list. And y'all in the chat, if you have any questions, of course, please ask them. I will highlight them. Here we go. Here's our first person, Mexicali Fish Keeper. Hello and welcome. Thank you very much. This means a lot to me that anybody is going to show up, and not just for me, for Evan. This man underrates himself. He has beautiful tanks, and he's knowledgeable. He knows about the hobby. He knows what he's doing, and he's humble about it. He don't claim himself as an expert. He don't think he's better than anybody, and that's why I wanted to get him up on my stream. Good people.
Well, I don't let you know that I think I'm better than anyone else.
No. Right. Jerome, what up? Welcome. Hey, I appreciate it, y'all. Be sure to share it out. Let's get this thing popping.
Yeah, let's get a few people to hang out with. What I love about these, live streams, and actually this is the first one I've ever joined, if anyone didn't know that, but even just watching them when they're, much more of an intimate setting, you got, a few really a group of core people, and you can have great conversations back and forth.
Right. All right, man. Well, as people are coming in now a little, we're just going to start with the first question. What is your name and where are you from?
Yeah. My name is Evan, and I am with Riffwaters on YouTube. By with, I mean that is my channel that I'm trying to start. If most people probably haven't seen it, it's pretty much still growing it. I'm from Indiana, central Indiana, near Indianapolis. For anyone unfamiliar with the U.S., that is actually kind of a little east of Chicago. Most people internationally know Chicago, right? They don't know Indiana or
Right.
Indianapolis.
Right.
But that's where I'm from. Born and raised here. It's a great place. But I've been all over this great country, and there's lots of other great places around here. So, but that's where I'm from.
Right on, man. And as all of you know, I'm also from Indiana. I did previously live in Richmond, Indiana, and now I am currently held in Connorsville, Indiana. All right. So, question number 2. What got you into the fish hobby?
Yeah, probably a similar story to a lot of individuals. When I was younger, when I was a kid, my parents thought, hey, it would be great for him to have a fish, something to take care of, teach some responsibility to. I'm sure they viewed it as, a low risk pet to take care of because, in those situations, a lot of parents don't actually, put a value on the fish. They're kind of entrusting it with, a 6-year-old kid. So there's kind of a negative side to that, but it also does get a lot of people in the hobby. And that's how I started, right? So I had a fish when I was, a kid, 29 gallon with, I think it was just a common goldfish, a comet goldfish. Uh, Entirely too small of a tank, but actually better than some people do when they're that young. But it obviously didn't last. I was, 7, 8. I was a young kid, right? But flash forward 15, 20 years, I'm just going through my parents' attic, and they actually kept that 29 gallon for all those years. And I thought, hey, this would be a cool decoration, right? A decorative piece, put it in the corner of your house, and people be like, hey, you have an aquarium. Cool. But then, you start falling in love with the fish that you're keeping, right? And you say, oh, I want that fish, but I need another tank to keep it in. Right? You know what I'm saying? It just fast forward, several years, and kind of have a problem now, huh?
Yeah. That's that multi-tank addiction.
Yeah, definitely. So it's been a journey, but the journey's just beginning.
Yeah, for sure. For me, I was raised up having fish tanks on and off throughout my life. Like my parents had nothing like spectacular. They didn't put a whole lot of focus to them, but nonetheless, it was a part of my upbringing. I always went fishing, like actual fishing and
Okay.
whatnot. So it was just bound to happen with me. All
All right.
right. Question number 3. And I probably should have put this one down on the list, but we'll be a little random.
All right. Keep me
Have
on my
you,
toes.
yeah, have you successfully bred any fish? And if so, what type?
Oh yeah, I've bred a lot of fish, mostly Malawian cichlids, and we can circle back to that list. But outside of that, I've done several other types. I've done some Corydorus, some discus. That was a really rewarding experience. Um, some Central American cichlids, which actually got a breeding tank going on right now. So a lot of fish, but predominantly in the Malawian cichlid kind of area. And within that, everything from Buna to haplochromines to peacock cichlids. just a whole mess of fish.
Now, was those discus hard to breed? Because I know they're like a finicky fish, anyhow, or not necessarily finicky, but they're kind of partial to, certain conditions or whatever. Did you have to do anything special?
Yeah, no, they definitely are. I would say they're more difficult than your average fish, and that's coming from a guy, me, who is actually of the opinion that most fish are very tolerant of a wide array of parameters. But even with that perspective, I still feel like discus do need certain parameters. They
Okay.
definitely need the water to be softer. Even if you have, actually right now I have Stinker discus, which they're known to tolerate harder water. But as you're aware, here in Indiana, our water is basically liquid rock.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so even that,
People
even
don't
that,
believe me when I say, yeah, people
yeah,
don't
my
believe me when
pH
I
is
say
sometimes
we have like
8.5.
liquid rock right out of the tap.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So with the discus, I did use RO water, reverse osmosis water. I first acclimated them to that over a decently long period of time. Kept them on that while I was trying to breed them, and then from there it's the usual, and keep them warm. And then from there it's the usual thing with most fish: just feed them well, keep the water clean. Discus, they do prefer very clean waters, so I was changing water 75% every day. So
Man,
yeah, and that has its own challenges too, because anything more than a 50% change at least in the water that we deal with, can be problematic, because
right.
water out the tap, it's under pressure, right? So that actually changes the pH, changes the KH, all the parameters. The water chemistry is very dependent upon pressure. So
Right.
if you bring our water out of the tap, it comes out 7.5 pH, maybe even a little lower, but then as it ages, it skyrockets. So with the discus being,
Oh, I'm just pointing at. We got 5 people watching right now so far.
nice, nice, cool, cool. Yeah, so with a long story short, with the discus, yeah, clean water. I would age the water for a day, aerate it, make sure it stabilizes, then do big water changes. Yeah, but that was a very rewarding fish to breed.
I've always wanted a discus, but they're so expensive. Even like the bottom level discus, if you want it to be good quality, you're paying $90 or more, unless you
Yeah,
know somebody or something like that.
yeah, and it depends on how old they are when you buy them, because they grow relatively slow to other fish. Not slow relative to like a frontosa or anything, but they're pretty slow growers. So it takes a long time to get them big. So if you buy them big, yeah, you can be dropping $200 on a good specimen. But then you can also buy them at, you know, I think the smallest I've ever seen is 2.5 inches. And
Yeah,
there's places that sell 2.5 inch discus for, 35, $40. But then you're not really sure what you're getting, right? So
right.
you're not really certain what they're going to look like when they grow up, because their patterns can change a bit. You're not certain that you're getting a good specimen. So there's
Right.
there's risk to it.
Jerome said, I always wanted a discus until I heard how much water people waste with them.
It is water intensive. I would say 75% is definitely on the higher end of what I think is necessary. You got some people doing 90% a day, which is
Wow.
a lot, because it's sometimes it's their focus in the hobby. Um,
Right,
I
right,
do, when I'm not trying to breed them, I do 50% every other day, which is still a lot relative to other fish.
right, right.
And I think, and maybe that's not even necessary. You could probably get by with less, but because they're so pricey, right? It's an investment. It's almost
Yeah,
like, do you want to, like, is saving, a little bit of time today worth the risk of hurting that investment, hurting your
yeah,
fish?
right. Losing hundreds of dollars on fish.
Yeah. But no, I can definitely sympathize with the aversion to that much water changes.
Right. Real quick, shout out Craig. Thanks for coming in. Again, Jerome, Mexi, Cali Fish Keeper. We got 9 people in here. Not everybody has said something in the chat, and that's okay. if you're simply here and just sitting back watching, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
Everybody's welcome. So
have it
thank
on in the
you very
background while you're
much.
cleaning your tanks.
Right. All right. So with that said, we're getting people in here. Let's jump to the next question.
Yep.
Number 4. What is your top 3 favorite fish? And I was gonna say what's your favorite fish, but any fish
Yeah.
keeper I know, that is really hard to narrow down to just one fish.
Yeah. No,
So
definitely.
if you have a top 3 somewhere in there, let's hear them real quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So the Masticimbalus erythritania, which is the fire eel, and you'll see him maybe behind me or when we do the tour later. You'll see him pretty well. Bilochromis anaphermis, which is a very rare Malawian haplochromine, and you'll see them as well here in the tour. And then for the third, I'm going to give you like a flex fish because I'll say it's my favorite right now, and it's the Paratroplus minorambo, and it's a very hard to come by fish from Madagascar, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll see them in the tour later. The ones I have are juveniles, so I don't want you to take an impression from them. I'll show you them, but anyone who can spare a quick Google search for Paratroplus minorambo, you'll be in love.
All right, we'll definitely have to check it out. I would say my top 3 favorite fish would be firstly Oscars. I fell in love with Oscars from the
Yeah.
get, so that's like almost number 1 or
Oh yeah,
at least
Oscars are
number.
great. Yeah.
The next would have to be red-tailed catfish. Uh, I've always wanted one, and I always told myself I will not get one until I know I have the final goal or home for that fish. And that's why I ended up with my 1,300-gallon pool pond. And number 3, let's see. Number 3 can always be anything, but I would say probably a nano or a small fish, and that would be Kalui loaches. I think
Okay.
they're the coolest little dudes to watch slither around your tank.
Oh yeah,
So
they're so cool.
that would be probably my top 3. All right. Question number 5. Who do you look up to in the hobby, and why?
Okay, yeah, good question. I'll kind of give you two types of answers. I'll give you
Bear with me. I'm gonna shut this door. My puppies
yeah.
are obnoxious.
Nice. You get a couple dogs were barking.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. But no, I'll give you two types of answers for that. Who I look up to. First, I'll start with like the mainstream kind of influencers in the hobby right now. That would be your KG Tropicals, your Tazawa tanks. Obviously Aquarium Co-op is huge.
Right.
I would say those are the people I look up to in terms of kind of being the mainstream influencers, really driving a lot of people into the hobby, keeping them there, helping inform them. But separate from that, there's also, I would say, the area of people that I look up to in sort of a more reverential sense are, I would say, a lot of the old school people who got the hobby started back in the day. And started maybe not like back in the 1930s or whatever, like really kick things off, like your Ad Konings who really exploded Malawian cichlids, right? Your Leif de Mason, your Jim Cummings, your all these people who really contributed to making the hobby what it is today.
Okay, yeah. Um, I didn't even think that deep, and you're probably the first one that's given me that deep of an answer on that aspect. That's really
Huh.
cool.
Hey, I'm a deep guy. Hey, actually,
I, I have to agree with. Sorry, I was gonna say I have to agree with Aquarium Co-op. Corey, he's the goat of this hobby to me. Tarza, as you mentioned, is really good.
yeah.
And one that you didn't mention that I like is Joey, King of Die.
Oh yeah.
Because building projects, that man's the goat of that in this hobby.
Oh yeah, totally. All right.
Someone said, "Oh, Jerome, you should post the link to his channel so we can all find him. It's in the description. You can find that link, and I will eventually get to where I can post it in this chat. But it's pretty simple. You just look him up. Riff R-I. It's going across the screen right now. Riffwaters.
Oh yeah. No, I appreciate anyone checking it out. I'm a small channel, just getting started. One day I hope to
Yeah.
be, one day I hope to be up to casual aquatics here.
No, stop it. This man's gonna pass me, y'all, and y'all can help that happen.
We'll both grow together.
Yes, sir. All right. This is one that I really like. One of my favorite questions I like to ask anybody that comes up here. Um, what is, or if you could change one thing in the hobby, what would it be and why?
All right, I'm gonna give you a very idealistic answer. So probably not something that can actually happen, but you're saying, hey, if I could change anything, I would make it so that a lot more species are available to be purchased. There's tons of fish in the hobby, don't get me wrong. There's also so many fascinating just creatures in the world, and I wish we could, take care of them and enjoy them ourselves. The ones that are okay to be kept in smaller environments, right? Not like your dolphins or nothing, right? Uh, but I wish there was a much more expansive variety of fish. But simultaneously, I would wish that in a way that you could be certain it's sustainable and you're not harming any of the species by pulling them out of the environment. So I'm not sure if that's even possible. Who would, champion something like that? But making many more species available with the certainty that you're not doing wrong by, the sustainability factor.
Okay. That is an awesome answer, man. I don't think I've ever heard something like that either.
All right, thank you.
My answer to that question would be I think if I could change this, like make it law, I think all fish stores should have to post, rather it be a big old bulletin or literally on the tanks. This fish gets this big
Oh yeah.
and needs this many gallons, and show a picture of the full size fish.
Hmm.
Because too often people go into a fish store and buy an Oscar and put it in their 20-gallon tank
Yeah,
because
totally.
they don't know no better.
Yeah,
And
I totally agree with that 100%.
and they need 75 gallons, and it would just help better educate and like alleviate some of the disappointment and stuff that comes with the hobby, because it's not to say that they don't mean well. You know what I'm saying? They're new, they like that fish, I like that fish, and they just want to see it in their tank. But if they're not properly educated, then they're not going to know better. And then when people will start like the fish police on Facebook and stuff, when they start hounding them and bashing them without
Hmm.
proper education, it makes people just want to give up on the hobby. They're like, well, whatever, I'll quit. Well,
Hmm.
no, you shouldn't have to do that. But
No, I get it.
education is key.
I totally agree.
Okay, yeah. All right. Question number 7. And
Number 7.
by the way, everybody, I have a list of 16 questions that I am going to ask Evan. If y'all have any personal questions, you throw them in there. I'll put them up on the screen. But just so you know, there's about 16, and then he is going to show us his
Yeah,
beautiful fish room.
we'll do a little tour. Yeah, check out some of the
Yeah.
things. Now that's the stuff people are actually interested in seeing, right?
Right, right.
No one wants to
Uh,
see my ugly mug.
no. All right. Question number 7. What is your thoughts on hybrid fish
Ah, it's a
and
great
why?
question. That's a great question, and I mean it's a very hot topic, right? I'm totally okay with hybrid fish as long as it's not what I would call a stealth hybrid. And let me explain that a bit. Your hybrid fish, like your flower horns, your OB peacocks, right? I mean, most people don't. I mean, everyone has an OB peacock, and they're like, "Oh, that's a hybrid fish." They don't even know. But there's so many fish that are, the hybrids of other species that are great animals, very beautiful, attractive pets. Uh, and I think those are totally fine, because it's easy to know that that is a flower horn, that is an Obi peacock. There won't be any confusion about that if someone were to buy that down the road. What I actually am a little more opinionated on are the hybrids when it comes to things that you can't be certain of, right? So if you got multiple species of Alonacara, the peacock, right, from Lake Malawi in a tank, and they hybridize, you're not sure if you have, a lemon jake or an otter point, right? Especially with the females, there's no way to tell. So those I'm a little more opinionated on. I'm not a fan of those. If you make them, great. Just if you sell them, be very clear with your buyers. Hey, by the way, this is a hybrid.
Right.
And I ask that if you ever sell it to someone else, that you tell them that it's a hybrid.
Right. Be transparent. Don't try to make up your own thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Let me dig a little deeper in that though. So like what's your thoughts on polar blue parrots?
Oh yeah.
And say hypothetically, obviously if they're from the same lake and the genetics match up, you might be able to cross accidentally, mind you. But
Yeah.
let's just say a firemouth with, I don't know, a convict, or I'm not saying that that's possible, but
Yeah.
like, so like, I mean, if you have a mixed tank, firstly, I guess that should have been another question. My bad on that one. Let's just add that in there. What's your thought? Like, do you believe in mixing fish, or are
Oh
you
yeah.
more like
I'm
strictly species only?
mixed tanks I mean mixed. I mean with African cichlids, you have several species in a tank together, and it's just you got to be a prudent caretaker and not turn around and sell someone else something that essentially, false advertising, right? If someone thinks they're buying a lemon jake, don't sell them something that could actually be something else
Okay,
or
yeah.
be half something else, right?
Real quick, up there on the screen, can you see that question?
I cannot. Could you read it to me?
Oh,
I see.
okay. Usually it shows
Oh,
up on
how
your
big is that
screen.
bottle shark? I do see that. Yeah. How big is that bottle shark? I got 3 bottle sharks in here. 2 of them are a foot long, and then one is 10 inches long.
There you go, folks. I've seen these tanks up close in person. They're beautiful.
Yeah, and that's just the length. I mean, these things are bulky, right? I love
Right.
bottle sharks. Um, and I actually, for anyone listening, I would recommend you have more than 3. I wish I did have more than 3 in here. They do like to be in, larger groups than that. And this setup 3 has worked out fine, but ideally, you would need a tank that could house 5 or 6, I would say.
All right. Next question on the stream from Jerome says, how many tanks does this man own? Does he feel like he has enough, or does he want more?
Hey, my shirt says just one more tank, I promise. No, I got about probably 30 up and running right now, and they're big tanks, and you'll see them here in a minute. They're all pretty big tanks. Um, I don't have enough. I have one more. I have a master plan. My wife says I sound like an evil genius when I say that, but I have a master plan for the basement here, and there's room for one more tank, and it's going to be a 700 gallon. Yeah, so there's room for one more tank, but after that one more tank, then I will have enough tanks.
Right on, man. I love the answer. Next question kind of leads in there. Is there a bucket list fish that you still want to own that you haven't owned yet? And if so, why?
Yeah, any of the Paratroplus species or the Tychochromis species, those are types of fish from Madagascar, highly endangered from other factors. So I would like to be part of the hobbyist effort to keep them alive, essentially. Um, not that how long can humans do that, right? Keep a species going. I mean, is it an uphill battle? Maybe, but I would like to be part of that effort. But they're very hard to come by. Um, so yeah, any of the Paratroplus or Tychochromis species.
And that's awesome. That's the whole point, growing the hobby, keeping it going. And it's crazy to think that us as hobbyists, we could actually help, I don't know, the population and stuff of some fish. Now, that's another fire zone with
Yeah,
collecting wild fish
yeah.
and keeping them and not, are you doing good for it or for the ecosystem, or are you potentially harming it? So I really
Mhm.
love your answer, man. That's cool.
Thank you.
That's funny. That's probably one of my next questions, but I'll let him ask it.
Do you have a fish that you regret buying? Great question. Uh, I've had a couple species that I regret buying through my hobby. At the moment, I don't have any in my fish room. No, some datnoids. I have datnoids. I actually have three in this tank behind me, and they're an amazing fish. I just don't ever see them because in my setup, they like to hide. So they're a beautiful fish. I just never get to enjoy them. So I've actually been working on rehoming them to others who can properly take care of them. Um, and they go to other setups and like they're out and about, they're doing great. Whatever it is, maybe it's the fact I got a fire eel in here, some giant gouramis. I'm not sure. I just never see them, so it's kind of money for no reason, right?
Right, right. Well, see, so this question kind of ties in with that, the next one, and it is your least favorite fish.
My least favorite. Well, no, I mean it does tie in. You're right. But datnoids would actually be one of my favorite fish when like when I actually see them in my tank because it's like, oh my gosh, they're amazing.
Right, right.
But I see, yeah, it does tie in a sense. I would say my least favorite fish would probably be uh, common plecostomus.
All right, and
But that's
why?
not even fair because they're an amazing fish, right? All fish are great.
Right, but I'm sure you got a reason. I know a reason why they would be a least favorite fish, and it goes back to the same thing with like Oscars and stuff. People get them thinking they're gonna get them to clean their tank, and firstly, common plecos are carnivorous, and or I should say omnivorous, because they'll eat meat. They'll eat absolutely, everything: flakes, wood, a little this, a little that. But again, they're just so regularly available and people want
Yeah,
to get, but they need a little bit of space. You don't want to get
yeah,
a common Echo and think you're going to keep it in a 50-gallon its whole life.
yeah. No, yeah. What you said that's pretty much the reason why I listed it. But like I said, all fish are great.
Right, right. All right. Question number 10. Oh, hold up. I might skip that one for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll circle back to 10. 11. What's your go-to water conditioner, and do you have a reason why for that?
Seek him safe just because it's such an affordable product that you buy it. I mean, a little canister that costs you 15 bucks, even in my fish room, lasts me for several months.
Okay, yeah, I'm right there with Seachem. I use Prime on my small tanks and Safe in my pond because it's a
Yeah,
bigger
sure, yeah,
body of water.
yeah.
All right. Let's tell the people, give them a little clue on what you're running there. What kind of filters, heaters, and lights do you use in all of your tanks? And is it kind of like a whatever you can afford, or are you strictly like, I only buy this brand of product because of XYZ,
Yeah.
or
No, I got a mix of everything. For filters, I like when I use canister filters, I do the Fluval FX4 or FX6. When I do a tank with a hang on back, I prefer the Sea Kim Tidal filters because they have
hmm.
the pump in the water, which is clutch. I I just really don't like hang on back filters where the pump is out of the water because you have to prime the filter first, and sometimes you lose prime when you're doing a water change. So yeah, the titles are great, and then also a lot of sponge filters. As far as lights, it's a mix of some Hydra lights, but budget lights, right? But then also on my nicer tanks, I have a lot of the Fluval 3.0 lights.
And are those expensive? Because I'm pretty much a Higer fan. That's pretty much what I can afford or
Yeah, no, I
whatever.
mean Higers are still great lights. The Fubles, yeah, they're pricey, especially lately. I think it depends on the size, but I think if you got a 4 foot light, it'd be about 250 bucks.
Have you done any research on that new FX filter that's coming out? It's called like the FX2 or something like that.
No, it's news to me. So as soon as we get off of this, I'm gonna look it up.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking about it too for Black Friday this year. It pretty much
Okay.
looks like the FX6. Okay, I'm sorry. I gotta let my dog out, y'all.
No
I'm a
worries.
horrible host. Abigail, come here.
What was your latest impulse buy? That's a good question. My latest impulse buy were some wild caught haplochromines. They're the Stigmatochromis woody, and I bought them because I've never seen them for sale before, and they're very hard to come by, and I'm not sure why. Probably because they take a long time to color up, so they've never caught like mainstream popularity. But I'm liking how they look, and you'll see them later in the tour. And I like the idea of breeding wild caught fish so that I could have some F1s to sell and move around through the hobby. So that was my latest impulse buy.
All right.
Someone had asked that in the comments while you were away.
I got you. We're gonna jump to question 13 again, folks. These are random, and by all means, if you have questions, throw them in there. I'd like to thank Jerome. He's thrown in some good questions.
Yeah.
Um, Number 13. Any current projects you're working on that you're willing to reveal?
There's always projects going on. Like I said, I have a master plan, and every step of that plan is itself a big project. Uh, you'll see the current project right now is moving a 225 gallon. The camera right now is actually sitting on the 225 gallon. Uh, and it had been set up and had a lot of my peacocks in it. So I currently have more. You'll see the tanks later, but I got a lot of fish spread around right now. So my next project is I got to get this 225 into its final position so I can, lighten the load on those other tanks again.
Right, right. All right, folks. Y'all probably don't know this yet, but in order to ask this question, I'm just going to state it. Evan has built quite a few tanks, or quite a few of his tanks, in
Yep.
fact. And that led me to ask this question, which was. Now I lost the question. Oh, here it is. Which of all of your tanks was the hardest to build and why?
Probably the 200 and good question. Probably the 225 gallon glass tank that I was just referencing. The reason being, it was one of my earlier builds, so I hadn't yet, developed some of the experience that I have now. But also, I'm a bit of a perfectionist when I'm doing fish tank stuff, and I wanted the seams to be perfect. And what I mean by that is the seams between the glass panels, like on the corners, because you can like see them, and I didn't want any air bubbles in it. Now, a few air bubbles isn't going to do anything. It's not going to affect the tank at all, but I didn't want to see it. So I actually built the tank, tore it down, and rebuilt it. I think 4 times. And
Wow.
call me crazy. I would never do that today just because I don't have the time. But I made it hard on myself. And it's a great tank. I love it now. I love it. But I definitely struggled with it in the beginning.
Between the two, because I also know you got a plywood build. In fact, the tank we're looking at behind you,
Yep.
was glass build harder or was the plywood build harder?
In terms of knowledge base, the plywood builds would be harder because you have to know some carpentry skills. You have to know how to waterproof them, and you have to be able to design them to take the weight, right? And you can look up designs online, but you still have to have a good understanding of the principles. And you can learn all this, right? Like I learned it too, like just by researching. But you have to build up that knowledge base. Glass is easier because all it is gluing glass together, essentially. I mean, it's silicone, but you're just gluing glass together. In terms of the difficulty in terms of actually doing it, though, glass is probably harder because once you start, you can't stop until it's done because the silicone will start curing. Plywood
Okay.
builds, while you have to know more to do it, you can take your time. You can screw some pieces together and let it sit for a day or two and then come back to it.
Now, do your glass build tanks have frame or like trim, or is it strictly just glass, glass, glass,
All
glass?
glass, yeah.
And how do you know that the glass is going to, in fact, hold the water pressure?
Yeah, no, great question. And honestly, just research online. That's actually not the hard part. There's several just calculators online that you can Google, say uh, aquarium glass thickness, and it'll pull up a tool that I like is called Omni Calculator. There's lots of websites out there, and you put in the dimensions you're thinking, and it'll tell you how thick of a piece of glass you need to buy.
All right.
And then
I
after a while, you just you know it, and you can make that judgment call yourself, right? But
right. I obviously I'm sure some people in here know I have goals to build a 2,000-gallon plywood tank. And if it was possible, which I know I could not afford glass for that size of like a glass tank, but if it was possible, I would take the easy way out and just make a 2,000-gallon glass tank because, as you said, you're just gluing pieces
yeah,
together. But
Jerome asked, hey, another good question. Did I build the tanks in place? I built the big ones in place. My 650, which is behind me, my 575, which you'll see in a minute, and my 200-gallon cube. Those I built in place. The 225 and smaller, I've built those at other locations and brought them to where they're currently at.
gotcha. Real quick, Jimmy P, thank you very much. I get it, buddy. I know you're busy. I know there's other streams going on, so we both appreciate that very
Yeah,
much. He said, he's just stopping in to come say hey, hit the like button, and he'll watch it on replay later. Jimmy
cool.
P
Yeah,
is one of my I, I'm not gonna say pick favorites, but supported subscribers. This man comments on all of my videos. He's always there liking, and he tries to
nice.
show up in chat. So Jimmy
Yeah,
P, honestly, he should be a mod. And if he's not a mod, I'm gonna make him a mod at the end of this because he's really good people.
yeah. Well, thanks for stopping by, though. Yeah, and check out the replay because we still have to do the tour, and we'll try to get to that soon.
He said, "No, I have the flu." Wow, man, I'm sorry.
Oh, shoot.
Driftkind one, thank you for coming in. I can't say I know your name. You got to come from Evan's channel or something. But he
Oh,
said,
yeah, yeah.
"How do you move these tanks around? Is there a special piece of equipment you use to move or lift them?"
Yeah, yeah. Uh, the bigger ones, I got suction cup handles, and I'll typically lean on favors from friends and family. So it's pretty manual. I don't have any specialized piece of equipment other than the handles and strained relationships.
Glitch, thank you very much, hon. I appreciate you stopping by.
Oh, hey, hey.
Jerome said, "Within place builds, if you move, could you take them?"
No, I couldn't. So it's a decision you have to weigh before you build them. I would have to. I'll take the glass with me and reuse them, but when I move, I'll have to dismantle the big tanks, and yeah, I won't be able to move them.
Only Oscars, thank you for stopping in. I appreciate it. Glitch Aquatics said, "Can we get his link?" Glitch, it should be in the description. If it's not after this, I'm gonna drop it. I've had a lot of people ask for it. Just right there, going across the banner, Rift Waters. Well, I put water, not waters with an S. Aquatics, or no, not aquatics. He's just Rift
Just
Waters
report, yeah.
on YouTube. So, I'll if I have a mod in the chat, could you look that up and just drop it in? Or otherwise, at the end of the stream, I promise, go click on this video. It will be in there. In fact, if you go look at the promo video on my channel, the little short one, his link's in that too in the description. So
I
thank you for
appreciate it.
asking that.
What's the next question?
Okay. Let's see here. Do, do, do. I know I skipped one, but no, I went back to it. All right.
Okay.
So this one I like to ask. It's kind of a fun question, and I kind of know the answer to this. You told me, but they don't. So, number 14. Is there a significant other? And
Yep.
if so, what are their thoughts about the hobby and you in the hobby and you having all these tanks? Do they get involved? Is it just your hobby? Do they have a certain fish maybe they like or no? Or
Yeah, yeah, no, I love hearing that too when other people talk about their significant others, and because the hobby is it's very time and cost intensive, right? So it definitely affects your the loved ones in your life, hopefully in a good way. But I do have a wife who is very supportive. She's not into the hobby, as it were, but she does support it, and she doesn't really have a favorite fish, but sometimes she'll come down and hang out with me and be like, "Oh, that one's cute." She likes the small fish. When she sees baby cichlids swimming around in between the rocks, she's like, "Oh, that one's cute."
Only Oscars put the link there. He said he hopes this is the right one. I'm guessing it is. If you click on it, you'll see his fire eel and a bunch of other. He's got a lot of good videos, y'all. Yeah, Jerome said that's right.
I
Perfect.
appreciate it.
um. All right. My significant other, she's pretty much the same way. She supports me in it in the sense that she doesn't like stop me from getting fish or whatnot, but she does help keep me under control now, y'all. She says, if we gotta pay rent, you ain't getting that $200 fish. Sorry.
That's
So
that's probably a good thing.
and her favorite fish are blood parrots and axolotls. In fact, I didn't really, not that I didn't care for them, but they wasn't like in my sights. And she's the reason that I actually own some of those. Is I figured she told me she likes this fish. If I get this fish, maybe it will help get her into the hobby.
Yeah,
So, thank the cat gods. What? Only Oscars? What? 934? I'm not quite sure what that's about, buddy, but
that
I know
might be
you.
my subscriber count,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay.
which that's
Well,
great. That's like +5 from just like a few minutes ago.
there's like 12 people hanging out, so maybe we
Cool.
can get you 12 more.
We'll have to do a collab and see if we can like build a bit of a community with your channel, my channel,
Yeah.
right? Do some more collaboration.
Because sadly, I mean, it's not a bad thing. Like when we go to set up these lives, and I'm speaking for me because obviously you said you've never went live before yet or whatever. It's hard to get a window where there ain't other channels streaming. Like right now, I know of one or two other channels that is literally live right now.
Oh,
And I am happy to see the amount of people I got in here because some of those other people are bigger names or whatever the case may be. They're more well known. I'm still not completely known by a lot of people. So, no, that's awesome. Maybe casual riff water can kind of become a thing, man. So
yeah,
that's awesome. Glitch asked, what is his biggest tank?
yeah. It's a 650 gallon, and that's the one right behind me. It's not going to be the biggest tank forever, but for now, it's the biggest tank.
All right. Do you think you will be in this hobby in 5 years? Do you think you'll be in it longer, the rest of your life? I mean, sure,
Oh yeah,
there's like uncertainties and stuff like that, but how passionate, like, is this it for you? Type
yeah. I'm a
thing.
lifer. I, I'm sentenced for life.
She said, "Holy, yeah."
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I told you in the beginning I have a problem.
Right, right. Obviously, my answer to that is I'm sure I'll be in it until I'm old and gray and can't be doing water changes. Which I ain't far from it. I'm looking kind of scraggly, starting to get a little gray.
No.
um, Here's a good question, and I always like to ask it just to get some perspective, get to know somebody a little better. Like, I'm sure. In fact, I know you have some dogs and stuff like that. But if not fish, then what? What would your hobby be? Would you have a YouTube channel on it? What pets are you into?
Yeah, my hobby would probably not be pet focused. If I wasn't into fish, my hobby would be woodworking, which it's another side hobby of mine. But that would be my focus. As far as pets, maybe I'd get a third or fourth dog too. But
I've seen hundreds come and go, said Craig, and that's true. You watch channels drop off all the time. They just go dead, or something happens in their life, and they got to like sell all of their fish tanks. Even if that was me in that case, I would still harness the hobby. I still got my Facebook group. I would still enjoy talking about fish, and I would probably then convert down to a nano tank. Like, there's
yeah,
not anywhere that you couldn't have a little 3 gallon tank set up, Not that I would go that small, but
sure, yeah.
push come to shove, I think I would always have a fish tank.
No, but your point is valid. It's a good one. It's even if you weren't running a channel, even if you didn't have 30 massive tanks, it's still a hobby that you can enjoy, and it gives you a lot of happiness. Even if you were doing it on a much smaller scale or being more of an observer, right? Like just you were just watching other people keep fish, and you didn't have any yourself.
Only Oscar says, see the glass on that tank? It's an inch. Tank is over 375 gallons. So I'm guessing he's asking or stating, how thick
Uh,
is the glass on that tank behind you?
the glass is 3/4 inch. So 3/4 inch glass will allow you to go, I think it's 32 inches tall. I've kept this one at 30 inches tall, and that's the actual span of unbraced open face glass. Uh, if you had an inch thick, you could go, I think, up to 36 inches. And it also depends on other dimensions of the tank. But this in particular is 3/4 inch glass.
Glitch said, I think we're all here because we got a problem.
Yeah.
Uh, Jerome asks, does he have kids? Has he passed on the fish keeping obsession? My two would love that tank behind you.
I don't have kids yet, in the future, sure, of course, not yet. And I'll definitely try to pass it on. But, if they prefer to do soccer or art or music, I mean, that's all great too, right? It's all about whatever fuels your creative energy.
Right, right. Only Oscar says 600 gallon. That's my dream tank. It won't fit in the door.
Oh yeah,
I do
I get
believe
you.
he built that in the basement. I don't think it would go up his steps. Crown Tail, thank you very much for stopping in. I appreciate it. I'm sorry. Let me get a few shout outs in here, Evan.
Yeah.
Crown Tail, thank you very much. I appreciate you. Troy. Troy was one of my last live streams.
Okay.
This dude is really cool. You got to go check out his channel as well. He said, hey, Sean, stopping by and dropping a like. I'll watch the replay later. That's quite all right, y'all. Craig, do they make money? All right, I think I caught up with those. Let me circle back here real quick. I just double check, make sure I ain't missing questions here.
Yeah. Only Oscars is telling us about his 34 inch tall. That's a nice height tank. I would like that. And thank you for the compliment on mine. I appreciate that. I do like it as well.
We really went through 16 questions already?
I'm not sure. I don't have the list.
We've been live for almost an hour now, so it sounds about right.
Yeah. Well, we still got the tour to do, and I'm sure people ask questions during that.
Yeah, for sure. Let me see if I can think of one up off the top of my head. Everybody in the chat, 11, 12 people watching. You got any questions for Evan? Anything is here you go. Do you have a go-to fish food and why?
Oh yeah, yeah. Depends on the type of the fish, of course. The brand that I typically go to is Extreme, though I am experimenting with Northfin right now. So those are two pretty well-known brands, and a lot of people will say they're very similar. So I'm right now mainly on Extreme, but checking out other options. And within that, it's if I'm feeding the cichlids, I'll focus on a cichlid pellet or a community pellet or a krill flake. Just depends on the species you're feeding.
Okay, yeah. Only Oscars, I can't get that looking through the side. Nice.
I can.
Do you have Oscars?
I feel like since only Oscars is asking that question, I should say yes.
Yeah.
But you're going to see my tank soon, so you'll know if I'm lying. I'm sorry, I do not have Oscars, and I would love to. They're a great fish, but it's like I got so many other fish that I want to keep, and like I only have so much space. But eventually when I switch out for other species, I mean, I'll definitely have an Oscar or a group of Oscars at some point in my hobby.
Leslie Eris Rifkind. Is this your old lady, bro?
Yeah, that is my wife. Yeah, she's where do you buy it? She's helping
She's
out with some questions.
picking you up. No. Sure. Answer that though. That's a great question for people in the chat.
She's asking that because she knows I'm so proud of the deals I get on landscape supply. I go to landscape supply yards, and not like even retail stores, but in any city you'll find um, commercial, right, wholesale type landscape supply yards, and a lot of them will still sell smaller bulk to people that just come roll up, right? But you can get nice stone for 20 cents a pound, whereas at a fish store you'll pay $3.99 per pound for rock. That's Stephen P. 2003.
Do you know who that is?
I'm familiar with him. Yeah, I see him in a lot of other streams.
Steven's a big dog, man. He's a big dog. He's good people, and he's humble too. Even though he's got a bigger channel, he's down at the level with everybody. He's
yeah,
cool. He'll answer your question in a live stream. He don't just push you off to the side or whatever, which tends to happen in some of the bigger streams. Sadly.
yeah,
So thank
yeah.
you, Steven, for showing up, man.
I'm honored.
I got to ask a question within that question that she asked you, though.
Yeah,
Uh, how do you know then what is okay to put in your tank?
yeah, it's a great question. But most
Like,
rock is fine. You do have, especially for the fish that I keep that enjoy, most of my fish enjoy harder water. So one of the biggest issues with buying rock that you're not sure about is if it's going to raise your pH. Like a lot of sedimentary rock is going to raise your pH, like your limestone, for example, right? And if you're keeping fish that need soft water, that could be an issue. Also, you don't want to get rock like pumice stone. Some people, landscape supplies sometimes sell giant pumice stone because people think it's pretty in their yard, which it is. But that is pretty sharp and abrasive, right? So to a degree, it's a matter of just thinking through your specific situation. To your point is valid though, and that's that you really don't know for sure. So if you're ever, I just always err on the side of caution. If I don't have enough information to know that it's going to be safe, then I just stay away from it.
canister or sump?
I'm going to say canister, honestly, just because that's what I have in my fish room right now. Though I recognize the benefits of sumps, and I wish I had this tank on a sump. I wish I did. When I built it, I didn't have the foresight for that. So I actually don't have room underneath the stand to fit a sump tank that would be big enough. But I wish I did. And I'm going to actually have a sump for the future 700 gallon.
Could you not set a sump up like beside it?
Well, it's just a matter of, and everyone will see when I do the tour. I just got tanks right up next to each other.
Right, right.
So
What's your go-to method for treating ick?
Ick. You do deal with ick sometimes. I haven't dealt with ick for a while, but I would probably go to the ICX, which is a medication. Anyone familiar with Aquarium Co-op knows that they also champion that medication. They're very confident in its abilities. So that's one that I would use. People also talk about high heat treatments. I don't go that route just because I've had issues with accidentally going too hot in the past, so I lean away from that approach. But I do know that there is some scientific validity behind it. But I would just lean towards the ICX medication.
I got you. I personally
Uh,
use medicated fish flakes,
oh,
and I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Nox Ick. So NOXICH or whatever, and you can get it on Amazon. And its primary formula is that methan. I can't pronounce it. Methanol, whatever. It's like a green. It will dye your hands blue or green.
yeah, you got like methylene blue, malachite green.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jerome, yeah, Jerome, you're you and I think a lot alike because I've thought about going with an overhead sump. Sorry, Jerome said to use an overhead sump for the tank behind me, and I've thought about it. And maybe someday that'll be the approach I take.
However, most people, when they go for like sumps and stuff like that, they're trying to look for like the biggest, most powerful filtration. And your tank's beautiful. I don't even know that you need it.
I appreciate that, yeah. But yeah, cleaning the canister filters on this thing is a pain, and a sump would be a lot easier to maintain.
All right. The questions are slowly popping into my head. When I was writing these down, I couldn't find my original memo pad. But at any rate, here's one that I almost skipped that I love to ask. Um, What advice would you give for somebody just getting in the hobby, and why?
It's a good question.
If you need a minute, I can give you my cheap answer and then it
Yeah,
might help to trigger yours.
give me your answer. Yeah.
All right. What advice I would give everybody just getting into the hobby is get on YouTube and subscribe to Casual Aquatics. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But it's partially real. Research, 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 research. It is the 20th century. Everybody has one of these. I don't know, not too many people that do not have a cell phone, right?
Yeah.
That's going to a fish store and looking at fish. Do a quick Google search. How many gallons or how much does this fish need? How tank requirements, just so that you don't get into that position where, oh, now I need to rehome this fish and I done spent this much money and I'm not going to get full price for it now or whatever. Research is key.
Yeah. I won't refute that. That's a great point. That's Yeah. I mean, that's it. I now need to come up with something different. Hmm.
Casual, can I feed the food you sent me? Be okay for betas? Only Oscars. What food did I send you, buddy? Are you talking about that antibiotic or anti-parasite? I'm not quite sure what food you ordered from me.
Um. Oh, sorry. We.
No, you're good.
Yeah. Just to close the loop on that one, I think my answer would be it's probably an extension of yours. It's go slow. Take your time. It kind of ties into the research, right? Because if you research, you'll find out, oh, I need this size of a tank, or this is how you probably take care of this fish. But then the next step is
Right.
not impulse buying, which earlier in the stream I admitted to doing an impulse buy. So do as I say, not as I do. But go,
Yeah.
yeah, go slow. This hobby is best enjoyed and appreciated as a patient man's hobby. And even if you're not, it rewards patience.
Right. And I can even extend off of that. What he's talking about with patience could be the determining factor from you getting to that burnout stage or not. And I don't care who you are, if you've been in this hobby for longer than a couple years, you have came to that point where you're like, man, I don't know if I can keep doing this. Rather it's financially, physically, you just, you or maybe you feel like you've done it all or whatever. Burnout is very real. So if you patience or have some patience in it, you have forever, or your whole life, if you really want to be in the hobby, and you
Yeah.
can always get to that point. Like, some people start off nano tanks and then they end up with a 3,000 gallon tank. Some people start with large tanks and they're like, whoa, this is too much work, and they end up going down to nano or smaller tanks.
Hmm.
So I conclude what Evan said. Patience is a real big key
Yeah.
when getting in this hobby.
You might even say it's a virtue.
Right, right. Troy asked, "Do you have any saltwater tanks?" And then he also had another part of it, and he just said, "If no, why?"
Yeah, no, I don't right now. But again, I love all fish, and one day I will. It's just a matter of I have maybe 30, 35 tanks right now, and I got a list of 200, things that I want to do. And right now the higher on those list or that list are some freshwater ideas. But eventually, I'll say, I've kept this tank of angelfish for a while now. I kind of want to switch to something else, and eventually I'll definitely get into salt water as well.
3G, what's up? Thank you for coming in, buddy. Jerome said, "If you have the room, it'd be awesome with a bog filter in it. Add
Oh,
in
oh,
house plants." Yeah, I tried to do a bog filter outside, and then my pond liner caught a hole in it, so I didn't get to actually fully do that this summer. But next summer, stay tuned, y'all.
yeah, yeah, that's a good idea too. I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for yours and see how it works for you.
I did do a video of it, like, set up when it first worked, and that's what it's called. I think, like, how to build a bog filter or something like that. And I like, not to toot my own horn, but I liked how it initially turned out. Just the pond itself started draining all of the water out, and I didn't have the time or money to reinvest, redig it out, relay pond liner, and that type of thing. So that
Hmm.
one's kind of on the back burner. However, the question, do you have a salt water tank? And if no, why not?
Oh no, I think that was the one we just talked
Oh,
about.
okay.
The
Yeah,
answer
yeah.
was no, but one day, yeah.
Okay. Um, when
You
the
know, if
last,
I there's go. Win the last fish. Um,
I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah,
Uh,
that's rough.
Looking forward to a very long relationship with these new Oscars.
That's good. Yeah, no, Oscars are great
That's
fish.
awesome.
And so, sorry to hear about the troubles. Yeah, I mean, but it sounds like you took a break and you're back at it. Yeah. Should I
And
show
that's
some
another thing
tanks?
too.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. And I was just gonna say, and that's another thing too. Like, you can always fall out of the hobby or take a break. But obviously, if you're passionate about it, it's always gonna be in your heart and in your head, and you can always come back. I know plenty of people that just flat out quit, sold all of their tanks, all of their equipment, and then 5 years down the road, they restarted up, and
Yeah,
they've been doing it ever since.
yeah. I mean, it happens.
Um,
Life takes you in many different directions, right?
Right. Only Oscar, and by all means, we can hear you. So if you want to turn your camera around and start
Oh,
showing, and I'll just read these questions to you, and you can answer as you go.
yeah. When
But
I see the live plants are fake, I love live plants, but with the fish that I keep, live plants are difficult. I know there's ways to get around that, and I've kept, like pothos and stuff. But with a lot of my cichlids and silver dollars and other things like that, live plants can just be a bit of a hit or miss.
all right. Another one from yours truly. Do you have a tank that's inspired by a special place in nature? That's a good question. I need to make her a model on my camera.
And just a real quick video check. Can you see my the screen?
Yeah, most definitely.
Great. Yeah, and that's my wife again asking the great questions. And yeah, the answer is yes. And she's probably asking because she knows that I like to keep a lot of my tanks geographically specific. I don't do what I would call biotopes, just because I think a true biotope is a lot more than what some people might say it is. It's to do a true biotope, it's a very it's a challenge, right? And those who do it, I'm very impressed by. But I
Glitch.
just stick more with what I call. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna read what Glitch Aquatic said. She had said she
Uh,
actually quit the hobby for 10 years and got back into it.
yeah, no, but great that she got back in. You see that story a lot. Sometimes you just need a break, right?
I also
But
have you on full screen, and I want to say this tank looks so beautiful.
thank you. This is the 575-gallon Malawian cichlid tank. So this tank is actually 9 feet long. So the camera may or may not.
No, dude,
Yes,
it's
Stephen
done
P
it
said you're
all. I got you up on
Yeah,
solo, so you can see
yeah.
literally the left corner to the right.
Stephen P says your problem is the cichlids. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that statement. They definitely are one of the problematic factors in keeping live plants.
But there's tricks around that. I
But
just done a video on it.
you did. Everyone should check that video out because you're right. There are ways around it. But yeah, I like to do geographically specific tanks. So I have a Lake Malawi tank, a Lake Tanganyika tank. I have an Asian tank, a Central American tank, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, this is the Lake Malawi tank, 575 gallons. It's amazing. I love it. Everything in here is from Malawi, with the exception of this Starry Night cichlid female that is just in here for space purposes. But everything else is a Malawian species. And a lot of these guys still have some growing to do, like these blue dolphins, these Malawi hawks. Some of them, full grown already, like this Venustus and this living stone eye. But yeah, this tank has a special place in my heart. Uh,
I still
sorry,
can't get
are you
over
still there?
Steven's comment. That's funny. Stephen P,
Yeah.
you know you like some cichlids.
No, but it's true. It's a good point. Thank you, Jerome. Yeah, I love this tank. Uh, and just stop me if I'm moving around too quick. This is just
No, no.
this is just a 120 with some a random assortment of Malawians in it. And this touches back on what I said. I'm moving a tank right now. So this tank wasn't here just a few days ago. It's sort of just a holding tank until I can get that 225 set up again.
Stephen asked you, what's the
And
food bill for that tank alone? The
this
last
the
one.
575.
Yeah.
I mean, I go through a lot of food, man. I don't really keep track of the cost on that, like specifically for a single tank. But I probably spend. Oh wait, my wife's in here, isn't she? I'm not going to talk about that. Stephen P's trying to get me in trouble.
Right. George, hello.
Yeah.
Welcome, man. You're catching the
Hello,
end, but
George.
you get to see the best part. He's about to do the tour.
So this here is the 650 Asian tank. I'm going to call it an Asian tank because the star of the show is the fire eel and the bala sharks. Obviously, silver dollars aren't Asian, so I deviate a little bit here. And I also got two giant gourami. And here, do you want me to get the fire eel out now, or should we save that to the end?
You should save it until
He's
the
cut.
end. Oh, well, if he's coming, he's coming. That's cool. He sees you. He's like, Dad, you're going to feed me?
Yeah. So this guy is Samson. He is our 34-inch fire eel. He
I'm so
is
jelly.
pretty much the
I
star of
still
the
want
fish room.
everybody, I told Evan when I met him that I'm going to put that eel in my pocket and take it home.
Yeah, and that's when I said you're not welcome here anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this tank is also a nine. I'm stepping around the 225. This tank is also 9 feet. So he doesn't maybe appear that big because he's in a giant tank with other giant fish, but he's a monster.
He is so beautiful. I'm so
Yeah,
jelly.
he's a great tank, or he's a great fish.
Yeah, he's a tank to himself.
Yeah,
Jesus. The
he's
girth on
very,
that dude.
yeah, he's very personable. He's always out and about.
Bro, you need to start going live and your old lady needs to be your anchor. She asks the best questions. How do you stay organized and on top of things? So many fish and tanks to take care of.
I stay organized and on top of things with the understanding of my loving wife, who allows me the time to put in the work. It's really, yeah. I mean, it takes time to manage this hobby. Um, so I wouldn't say there's any special tips or tricks. It's just you have to put in the effort.
Right. If you slack back, then it's obviously going to get a little rough in there occasionally.
Yeah. But yeah, this is 650, so I like it. It's one of my earlier plywood builds, so it's a little rough around the edges. And I'll actually show one of my. I like to think you can see the progression of the capabilities of my builds here, because you can see this 650. It's nice, but it's not pretty on the outside. Where we then come to the 575, so it has a much nicer facade on it. You may not be able to see it, but it's a much nicer facade. But then we come to this 200-gallon, which I'm very proud of. This is a 200-gallon corner tank that I built recently, and it has a very nice facade on it. I'm very happy with how it came out. And also the tank itself, very nice. And this is for the angelfish. And Sean, you still there? Sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, no, I'm just letting you do you, buddy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is the star of this tank are these Philippine blue angelfish. There's some other fish in here too. We got some rainbow fish. Uh, there's a lot of there's some Corydorus and bristlenose in here, which are hiding right now. But star of the show are these angels, and really it was built to be a corner tank, viewable as I kind of walk around the fish room.
Right. And that's like, I love that tank. I can't imagine even thinking about building something. Now, was that a hard build? Was there something you wish you done different? Or is it exactly how you wanted it?
It's how I imagine. I mean, if I could do it differently, I'd make it a little bigger, but that's just a space limitation. But it came out pretty much how I envisioned. Uh, the goal here is to get even more angels. I'm going to be breeding these guys, and I'll probably just max out the capacity, is in a good way. Like,
How much will you sell them for? I'm thinking about some angels for my 125 community.
I mean, we'll see if I can actually get them breeding. They lay eggs all the time, but I have not like pulled them out to focus on it. I'm sure
Oh,
me and you can do just a friendly trade of some sorts,
all right, cool. Because those guys are pretty.
or just throw you some in appreciation for inviting me on. And
Oh, you ain't got to do all that, but that's awesome. Much obliged.
Jerome had a funny question there. Did I
Mhm.
plan for my wife to join, or am I just that lucky? She knew I was doing this. It was obviously this was I was looking forward to it. This is the first live stream I've ever been able to join, so I'm very appreciative to Casual Aquatics for having me. So I think she just knew that it would be um, nice for her to join and watch along.
Real quick, as you're showing around, what was the first tank down there in the fish room?
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe let me just give a whole like panorama because I've kind of not done that yet. We start with the 575. The first tank I've ever had down here would have been, I moved from a different house, and I already had several 125s and 75s, so I brought them all down here.
She said, have you bred something that hasn't been bred before? Hybrids? Question.
She's really coming in with the questions, and I'm just gonna adjust my camera here.
No, you're all right.
Yeah. Yes. She's asking. She knows what I'm proud of, because I've been breeding some albino Alona Car Stuart Grantai, which I've never actually seen and it's a specific collection point from the high reef. And I've never
Stephen
seen
P.
albino versions of.
Sorry. Thank you very much. Now it's not just me telling you, Evan. Read that comment.
Oh, I'm honored, and I appreciate that a lot. And it makes me feel
So humble, it's ridiculous. Like he doesn't even realize how beautiful his gallery is. It's not even just a fish room, it's a gallery. I was honored to be down there.
I really appreciate that, guys. I mean, it's a labor of love for sure. You know, sorry, I just saw my wife's comment.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were just telling us about she asked you the question about breeding and hybrid or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I've bred some albino peacocks, a specific peacock that I've never seen an albino version of before. So I'm raising those fry up, and I'm gonna be trying to spread them around the hobby a bit.
All right.
So yeah, sorry, I'll go back to before I started doing the panoramic. This is just a rack of 40-gallon breeders. Right now I'm breeding these topaz cichlids, which just they kind of just got startled and ran off. But they're a pretty rare Central American cichlid. And maybe the best tank to see them in is the tank those breeders came from, the 60-gallon. And these are a bunch of males. I got a very male-heavy group.
Those dudes are so pretty.
Yeah, the females, this is a species where the females actually look better, in my opinion.
Oh, no
And
kidding.
if the female over there wasn't so skittish, I would try to get her on camera. But yeah, so a pretty rare cichlid. They're called the blue eye cichlid because of their nice blue
Blue
eyes,
eye.
if you can see that.
Yeah.
I think they're beautiful.
Amazing. Stephen P said, I can imagine staying on top of the maintenance like that. I force my plants to do more work so I can let them get grosser than usual sometimes. Stephen P, I'm with you. I can't keep my tanks looking crisp for the life of me. And I even have some tanks that are over filtered. And that's why I asked, what's your secret? How are your tanks so crisp? And I'm guessing you just do your like weekly water changes and you got some pretty good filtration on them and they're not overstocked to the point where bioload and stuff is caking up on it. And I didn't ask
Yeah.
this question, does timers take a play in that? Like, do you have any tanks on timers for algae control?
Yeah, all my lights are on timers, mainly for ease of what's the word I'm looking for? Mainly just to make it easier so that they're on when I come home and they go off before I go to bed. But yeah, having them on timers definitely helps prevent algae growth. And then it's also just, a labor of love. You just got to put in the time. And it's sometimes it's a little more than you want it to be. But then when you can just sit back and drink a beer and enjoy all your tanks, I mean, it's something
Yeah.
special.
Yeah. What's his biggest glass tank?
My biggest all glass tank would be the 225-gallon, which is a 7-foot long tank. My biggest tank with a glass viewing panel would be the 650.
I like how it all matches. Good planning and execution. It shows.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is a rack of 125s. This is a very rare haptochromine from Lake Malawi, which I recently bred, and I'm very happy with that. And I just love this fish. It's the Mylochromis anaphermis.
So I feel like I should have seen those dats. You kind of scanned those tanks. Did you end up
Oh,
getting rid of them?
no, the datinoids. Well, that's what I was saying before. Like, there's 3 nice datinoids in here. I just never see them.
Okay, yeah.
And
I
and and that's why like I've been trying to rehome them is just because I just never see them.
right, all
Here's
right.
2 of the giant gourami, and they're beasts themselves, but they're really far back. This tank is over 4 feet deep, so they're actually back there, so they look smaller than what they are.
How big would you say they are? About 15 inches?
The biggest, I think I have a male and female, and the bigger one is probably about 13 inches long right now, but they're very bulky. I mean, you've seen them. They're big.
Right, they're tall even, probably
They're
a good
yeah. They're tall.
five,
They're
6, 8
wide.
inches tall.
Oh, how many inches tall?
Yeah, like roughly,
I
probably like six
that's a
to
great
eight inches.
that's a great question. I actually don't know offhand. If I were to guess, I would say 6 inches tall. 7 inches tall. I'm not sure.
Hey, not you. We got somebody new popped in. WTRS abbreviation Waters, I guess. Said what got you into this hobby? I just joined. If
Yeah.
you go back at the beginning, that was like the second question we asked him, and then you can jump back forward to this tour or catch it after it goes live. And I want to personally thank you for coming into my stream, whether it was just to see Evan or not. I appreciate you. Sorry,
Yeah.
Evan. Continue.
No, no worries. Yeah, and this the short, quick answer for that, just to recap, is uh, just as a kid, got a goldfish tank. Parents thought it would be a good way to teach me responsibility, and decades later, I have a problem. So, and this tank, if anyone's thinking it's definitely overstocked, even for African cichlids. This is
How?
another this is another factor of I'm moving that 225. So this is just a temporary home for most of these fish.
I mean, at the size they're at right now, it's not technically crowded, right?
I mean, it's doable, but I myself wouldn't like make this their long-term arrangement.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course. A lot of those fish in there will get 6, 8 inches. I can tell.
Yeah. Well, these albino blue dolphins are going to get every bit of 10 inches or so. So,
Right.
and we got some nice fish in here actually. Just to touch on them real quick, we got this Exochromis anagenus. We got a 5 in here that I hope to breed. They get massive as well, probably 10 to 12 inches. We have some deep water haps. We have this otter point peacock. We have a group in here as well. Just a lot of nice fish. So yeah, and then sorry, over here is my rack of 75 gallons. First up, we got our yellow lab tank, and they're all gonna hide as soon as I come up.
They did too. That's cool though.
Yeah, but you saw them, I think, before they went away.
Yeah, yeah. When I came,
There's actually a bunch in there. And we got some discus down here.
pretty. I don't know that I'll ever be stable enough to have discus, man. If you have some calls though, let me know. I'll take the ugliest ones.
All right, I'll keep that in mind. I definitely want to breed these guys. So yeah.
Beautiful. I noticed. Here's another question. While you're showing, you ain't got to stop. I noticed mainly you use sand. Is there a reason?
Good question. I would say half because that's just what I like aesthetically, and then half because a lot of the fish I keep are sand sifters. Uh, cichlids, I mean, I guess they're not sand sifters by the usual definition, and that's how they eat. They do sift the sand, and they like to move it around. So, like, look at all these. It's like valley and these peaks, right? They move the sand
Yeah.
around. They like to do it. So I just like to make it easy on them. This is a Hericthus carpentis Rio Hondo, similar
Yeah,
to
now we're
Texas.
talking Central American, South American. I love those big fish. I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
He's kind of
perfect.
hiding. Sorry, it's terrible lighting right now.
Oh,
But
you can still see that blue glimmering though.
yeah, he's a closely related species to the Texas cichlid. So that's another Hericthus species. So
Do
he
you
might
have
come out.
a do you have a nemesis fish? Something that won't breed, you can't keep alive, etc.
Oh, hmm.
Y'all are asking great
Yeah,
questions. Thank you.
I would say before I would have said the Mylochromis, Anaphermis, these guys, because I've been trying to breed them for a long time and they just wouldn't breed. But just very recently, we actually had success in that area. But had you asked me that a couple weeks ago, I would have said these guys. Yeah.
Jerome said mine was a regular bristle nose plecos. For 2 years, I was raising rainbows and couldn't get the bristles to breed. And
Yeah.
me, I throw bristle nose in a tank and they just decide to have babies. It might have something to do with your water or your setup, Jerome. And I'm no expert specifically on bristlenose, but I'm telling you, man, I set up a 30-gallon, had it cycled, put some fish caves in there. That's the only decorations, no substrate, nothing. And bristlenose bred like crazy. And then I got another tank that has a little bit of gravel, some plants and stuff, and they're breeding in there as well.
Yeah. So these are some hot water cichlids, Stanachillia shukare, really cool fish. So yeah, I mean they're kind of hard to see just because they're so freaking fast.
But you
But
can check out a video on my channel of them. Thanks to Evan. If anybody's curious how I got those fish, I don't own them. Evan does. And they was very cool to research and learn about. I didn't
yeah,
even know hot water fish existed.
yeah, they minimum I'd keep them at is probably 85. Some people talk about keeping them up to 100. It's I want to keep them that hot, but they come from very desert geographies, northeastern Africa. So not the Rift Lakes like other African cichlids, but farther north. This is a Tanganyika tank with frontosa in it.
I love it. I man, do you have do you are those just regular fronts or are those special types or and do you have aspirations for the other types like the Black Widow front
Yeah,
tosa?
yeah. These are Mpimbwe blue. I think the most common one that you're probably referring to are the Burundi. These are the Mpimbwe blue. I'd say they have a little more blue to them. The next ones up, I would say, are the MOBA, sometimes also known as the Zaire. And yeah, I would love to have those someday because those are vibrant blue.
Look at the nuchal hump on those, y'all. That one right there that's like in the center now. Look at the hump, boy. He says I'm large and charging.
Yeah, yeah, he's definitely the tank boss. Yeah, they're great fish. The water's a little cloudy right now just because I put new sand in here not too long ago, and it's still kind of dirty in the water a bit.
It looks crisp.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, one day I would love to have MOBA frontosa. They are much more vibrant blue. I'm not interested in the black widows or the reds. Hey, if that's what you're into, great. They just don't catch my interest, to be honest.
I think the reds are kind of pretty. I'd like to just see a full grown one to,
Yeah.
see
Well,
it.
they're just not like that red, in my opinion. I mean, they're still being worked on, right? So one day you might actually have truly red frontosa,
Right,
but
right.
it's more like they have red undertones, at least in my opinion. But yeah, and this is the last rack of 125s. What we have up top are albino threadfin acara. They're beautiful.
Hey, Glitch Aquatics, if you're still in here, could I get you to drop his link one more time in the chat or only Oscars or anybody? Just get that link in there because he is about to be finishing up and this man deserves it. He go check him out, y'all.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we also got some denison barbs in here. We got some mangrove trees growing out the top. It's a nice tank. I think so. And then down below, these are actually my prized possessions, right? Or my prized pets, I should say. These are some of the Madagascan cichlids that I talked about before. These are very hard to come by fish, and they're very threatened in the wild. And these are tank-raised specimens, and I hope to raise them myself and breed them and propagate them throughout the hobby. So this would be the Paratroplus minorambo. And if you see adults, just Google them. And if you see pictures of adults, you'll fall in love. We also have a couple other species.
I'm guessing that corner of your basement has just a little interference. We can still hear you, but it's almost a little muffled. So maybe you just speak up a hair bit or whatever.
Yeah, can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
I'll just step away. Basically, I was just saying these fish are from Madagascar, a very worthwhile fish, a very rare fish. It's a genus of species that I'm hoping to make more popular so that we as hobbyists can help sustain their populations.
Soul of Ice, thank you very much for stopping in. I can't say that I know your name or have seen it in a live stream, so thank you very much. Only Oscars, if
Yeah.
you could do it, since I know you're in here, I'd really appreciate it if you drop his link one more time. And I feel like you didn't show us something there, Evan, over there by that tank you was just proud of. Don't you got some baby breeders or a small
Oh,
rack with babies?
yeah, this is more of a lot of grow outs in here. Again, because I'm moving a tank right now, and but eventually I'm going to pull out most of these fish and leave just this. This is a Lepidochromys caeruleus. And for any of you who know African cichlids, you might be thinking, no, it's not. Those aren't yellow labs. That's the common yellow lab, which you saw on that tank over there. All those yellow fish. But these are the same species. They're just a different collection point, and they are blue. So I'm going to pull out all the other fish and get these guys breeding, and also propagate them throughout the hobby.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
But
so these are blue labs.
over there by it's not, I mean, it's over there by your front toaster tank is what I'm talking about. I
Oh,
thought you literally had a rack with little like 10 gallons or something in it with like some
yep.
babies.
Yeah, I wasn't showing that because it's not very attractive. But this
Oh,
is my
okay.
rack. This is my breeding rack, and I got 320s on the top, middle, and 240s on the bottom. And there's no lights on them either. But you won't even be able to see the fish. But I have some juvenile starry night cichlids in that tank, and just a bunch of other fish that I've bred and will be offering out into the hobby sometime soon.
Evan, before we close up here soon, how does people get a hold of you? They might want to buy your fish, man.
Yeah, well, actually, I do sell fish now on Vivi.com. It's a new marketplace. You might be familiar with Aquabid, some of those other marketplaces. Vivi is a much improved and streamlined platform to buy fish, trying to really improve the hobby and give hobbyists a much smoother experience. And it also offers the potential for hobbyists to sell their fish. So yeah, check me out on Vivi, Vivvy. One day you might see me offering F1s of the Stigmatochromis woody, or even those
Okay.
albino peacocks. But yeah, you can also check out my channel. I'm so small, I will see any comments you put
Right on, man.
there.
Does
Sorry,
anybody?
that's the albino peacock that I bred that I'm proud of.
Oh, he's pretty.
Yeah.
Real quick, y'all. Do you have any last questions for Evan before we end up ending the stream? We've been on here an hour and 38 minutes, and it doesn't even feel like it. But I got supper to get to, and I'm sure Evan has, the rest of his night to attend, and don't want nobody missing out. If you don't have a question for him yet, and you think of a question after, feel free to drop it in the comments on this after it goes live, and I'm sure Evan will come check it out and answer the question if I can't answer it, or just go to his page, go to his channel, and be like, hey, I saw you on Casual Aquatics. You had blank, 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 and I want to know how I can acquire it or how I can do it. And
Yeah.
just let them know, and we'll get back to you.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
Appreciate
It's been
it.
an honor.
Says, thanks. So beautiful. Yeah, exactly. They are. And thank you. I thank everybody that showed up for this stream. It meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me for him because he's so humble in the fact that he doesn't like, I don't know. I don't think this man gives himself the due acknowledgement that he deserves. And I know I'm still kind of a nobody, but if I could have helped him to get him out there a little more, that's my way of saying, Evan, you're amazing. And thank you very much, man.
Thank you. It's been an honor. I've really enjoyed having our conversation. It's been a lot of fun.
All right, man. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this live stream up real quick. Somebody asked, how are you listed on Vivi?
How? Just Riffwaters, the channel name. Yeah.
Oh, we got one last really good question from your wife. And this is a real question. Like, I've been thinking about trying to make a video on it because this really happens and it's something you can't control. If somebody hits a transformer and your power goes out in your neighborhood or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer because there's not an easy, simple solution that I'm aware of. I actually have a portable power generator that I use in case of blackouts, just to plug in our central air pump system to keep water moving, and some of the heaters on some of the more hot water required tanks. So those aren't cheap, unfortunately. I would say the most simple way to ensure safety is get the small or the biggest generator or spare battery pack that you can afford, and then just make sure you keep your air pumps running, because keeping your air pumps running, that'll keep your fish alive for 24 hours, right? Even without filtration or heat. And only in rare situations are you going to be without power longer than that.
And in a last minute attempt, in a rare occasion, believe it or not, taking a bucket of water out of your tank and redumping it back in will create agitation and air bubbles. So,
yeah, definitely.
If you can't afford the generator and then it just happens, I mean, it's going to suck, especially if you got a lot of tanks like us. But, I mean, go running around dumping water, man, and hope for the best.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Evan, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, buddy. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. And I hope maybe someday I can come onto your channel, maybe, or whatever. And maybe we'll go live again later on down the road. You got some new projects, new things, hop on here, let the world know.
Definitely, yeah, let's do it. Let's collaborate some more.
From me to you, man, thank you so very much. I appreciate the opportunity to have you on my channel. And I hope everybody in the chat has a great evening. I hope you guys enjoyed Evan, because I surely did. And I can't wait to go back to his house to see it in person and, stuff like that. So just all around good vibes. I appreciate everybody who attended. I think our max cap at the highest point, we had 15 people, I think, watching or whatever. And I know people will come after it goes live to watch the replay. So again, thank you very much. Everybody have a good night. And until next time, you already know, stay casual, everybody.